The territorial changes of China's Tang Dynasty, explained in one go. In 618 CE, Li Yuan proclaimed himself emperor in Chang'an, founding the Tang Dynasty. The initial territory largely inherited the Sui dynasty's domain, controlling the Central Plains, Guangdong, and Jiangnan regions. However, to the north, the Eastern Turkic Khaganate dominated the northern steppes, threatening Guangdong directly. Emperor Gaozong had to adopt strategic concessions, seeking peace with the Turks. To the northwest, the Western Turkic Khaganate controlled the vast Central Asian steppes. To the northeast, Goguryeo occupied Liaodong and the northern Korean peninsula, a formidable regional power after centuries of development. The newly founded Tang Dynasty faced grave threats from multiple directions. In 630 CE, Emperor Taizong seized upon internal turmoil within the Eastern Turkic Khaganate, dispatching General Li Jing to lead a northern campaign. The Eastern Turks were decisively destroyed. The southern Mongolian steppe was brought under Tang control, with the Anxi Protectorate established to govern the region. However, after the fall of the Eastern Turks, the Zhuyan rapidly rose to prominence in the northern steppe, replacing them as the new threat to Tang's northern frontier. In 646 CE, Tang forces allied with the Taiyuan tribes to launch a northern expedition, destroying the Zhuyan in a single decisive campaign. The entire Mongolian steppe, both north and south of the Gobi, now fell under Tang dominion, projecting Tang prestige across the grasslands. Meanwhile, the Tibetan Empire under Songtsen Gampo was rapidly rising on the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau, emerging as a formidable new rival. To the northwest, the Western Turkic Khaganate remained powerful, controlling the Central Asian steppes. After Emperor Gaozong ascended the throne, he continued Taizong's expansionist ambitions, ushering in a massive westward expansion. The renowned General Su Dingfang led campaigns into the western regions, winning 3 decisive victories and annihilating the Western Turkic Khaganate. Tang influence now reached as far as the Aral Sea and the Caspian Sea. The Anxi and Baiting protectorates were established, securing the entire Silk Road. However, the Tibetan Empire on the plateau was quietly growing stronger. While Tang was consolidating its western regions, the Tibetan Empire grew ever more powerful. Tibet launched a massive expansion toward the western regions, pushing its forces deep beyond the Pamir Mountains, severing Tang's overland connections to Central Asia. The 4 garrisons of Anxi fell, and the Silk Road was cut off. In the northeast, Emperor Taizong had personally led 3 campaigns against Goguryeo without fully conquering it. Emperor Gaozong finally appointed Li Ji as commander, and allied with the Korean kingdom of Silla. In 668 CE, they decisively destroyed Goguryeo. The An Protectorate was established at Pyongyang, dramatically extending Tang territory into the northeast. The surviving Turkic remnants in the north refused to accept their defeat. In 682 CE, they re-established their state as the Second Turkic Khaganate, plunging the northern steppe back into turmoil. Tang simultaneously confronted the Second Turks while re-engaging in the western regions. During Empress Wu Zetian's reign, generals like Wang Xiaojia launched counteroffensives, recapturing the 4 garrisons of Anxi and restoring control over the Silk Road. Around 741 CE, the Tang Dynasty reached the zenith of its power. The empire stretched from the Korean peninsula in the east to the Pamir Mountains in the west. From Lake Baikal in the north to northern Vietnam in the south, a truly vast dominion. Yet beneath this golden age, border threats persisted. In 744 CE, the Uyghur Khaganate was founded, replacing the Second Turks in the northern steppe. In the southwest, the Nanzhao Kingdom emerged, alternating between war and peace with Tang. Most dangerously, military governors within the empire grew ever more powerful, and Lushan alone commanded 3 frontier garrisons with over 100,000 troops. A crisis loomed. In 755 CE, An Lushan, military governor of Fanyang, Pinglu, and Hedong, raised the banner of rebellion, igniting the devastating An Lushan Rebellion. War swept across the Central Plains as Luoyang and Chang'an fell in quick succession. To suppress the revolt, the court pulled frontier armies from Heshi and Longyu inland, leaving the western borders dangerously exposed. Tibet seized this moment of vulnerability, launching a massive offensive. The Tibetans swiftly conquered Longyu and the entire Heshi corridor. Everything west of the Yellow River fell into Tibetan hands. The Anxi Protectorate was completely cut off from Chang'an, stranded alone in the far west. The An Lushan Rebellion raged for 8 years before its suppression in 763 CE, but the Tang Dynasty was left gravely weakened. 10,000 miles away in the western regions, the garrison of Anxi refused to surrender. In 781 CE, an envoy from the Anxi garrison made a perilous journey through Uyghur territory to reach Chang'an. When the court learned that the Anxi soldiers were still holding out, officials wept openly. An imperial edict was issued commending their valor, and contact was briefly restored. Yet the court could not send a single reinforcement. Contact was lost again. The isolated garrison held on for nearly 30 more years, finally falling to Tibet around 808 CE. One of the most heroic last stands in Chinese military history. In 848 CE, Zhang Yichao of Shazhou, Dunhuang, led a popular uprising that drove out the Tibetans. Zhang Yichao progressively recovered over 10 prefectures across the Heshi corridor. He then dispatched an envoy carrying maps of 11 prefectures to pledge allegiance to the Tang court. The court established the Guyi army with Zhang Yichao as military governor, restoring Tang control over the Heshilongyo region. This was a rare territorial recovery in the late Tang period. By this time, the Uyghur Khaganate had been destroyed by the Kyrgyz in 840 CE, and no unified nomadic power remained in the northern steppe. The Tibetan Empire was also collapsing from internal strife, its power rapidly waning. Yet within Tang itself, warlordism grew ever worse. By 890 CE, the Tangut people had seized the Heshi corridor and Longyu, and Tang once again lost control of this strategic passage. Tibet too had fractured and declined, a shadow of its former self. In the final years of Tang, the empire was racked by famine and suffering. In 875 CE, Huang Chao launched a massive peasant rebellion that swept across the nation. In 880 CE, rebel forces stormed Chang'an, forcing Emperor Shizong to flee in panic. Though the Huang Chao rebellion was eventually suppressed, Tang's central authority existed in name only. In 907 CE, the warlord Zhu Wen deposed the last Tang emperor, bringing to an end the nearly 300-year reign of the Great Tang Dynasty. China then entered the era of the 5 dynasties and 10 kingdoms, a time of fragmentation, rival warlords, and unceasing war.